up when it's. Alrighty, we're good. Alrighty, so real quick, I want to start off by saying real quick that my comments are represented today by the Next Generation Action Network that have been working with the Anthony family from the advocacy standpoint. I'm not the Anthony family attorney. Of course, you know the Next Generation Action Network is no stranger to this line of work. And we have been representing families for the last 10 years from an advocacy standpoint to get to the bottom of this situation. The Next Generation Action Network, since the past week, have gotten thousands of calls regarding this situation and making sure that our organization was involved in this situation because of the growing tension of racism and bigotry involving with the case. I want to start off by saying that I appreciate the Deputy Chief, John Stretch, from being able to come here to meet with us, as well as the Assistant Police Chief, Darren Stevens. These are two individuals who are currently over the investigation that is currently going on in Frisco ISD. Of course, let's start off in the proper way. I'm Minister Dominique Alexander. I serve as president and founder of the Next Generation Action Network, the largest human and civil rights organization in North Texas. Today, we had a meeting with the leadership of the Frisco Police Department to discuss the matter of urgency in escalating racial threats and bigotry and online hate directed at the Anthony family. Let me be clear. The Anthony family cannot leave their home because of the growing threats towards their safety. Their personal address has been exposed. They have received graphic and racist threats. They are being targeted with violence and simply because their child is in the center of this tragedy. We are here just for justice. This justice must be fair and impartial and protected from biases. We cannot allow racism and bigotry to divide us. We cannot allow white America to decide when and how Black people can speak up against oppression. We do not pull the race card. We live it. Yes, this case is a tragedy. Anytime a child is lost, we mourn as a community. Our heart goes out to the family of Austin Metcalf. But we do not erase the right of the Anthony family to be protected and heard and treated with dignity. That's why today we spoke with the Frisco Police Department leadership to demand answers. We need to know what steps are being taken to protect the Anthony family, the strategies of the threats that's being spread it, and how Frisco Police is ensuring that Karmelo Anthony's Sixth Amendment right, a fair and public trial, is fully respected. Let's make it clear that absolutely we have the full permission and trust of the Anthony family and authorized for the Next Generation Action Network to speak today. Today in this meeting, we talked about and was able to give them graphic images of what this family has had to deal with for the last couple of days. It is sad. These graphic images not only display children with knives, Black children with knives stuck in their head, the Anthony family's address. We saw when this case first started that people were putting online that when Section 8 was accepted into the Frisco neighborhood, that became the lead of the downfall of Frisco. We have saw so many different hateful images, just hateful things. And the Next Generation Action Network wants to reiterate that Karmelo Anthony has a right to a fair trial, unbiased, and removed of racial hate and bigotry. I want to make it very clear, and I say this from my heart and my own personal reference. If someone wants to say race is not in this situation and shouldn't be, well, I asked all of those people to join me in calling it out. But don't look at black people and say, don't always play the race card. We don't play the race card, we live it. We live a reality. We also feel that the bond that Karmelo Anthony is on is too high. We do. Because guess what? We've been here when Aaron Dean was arrested. We was here when Amber Geiger was arrested. $200,000. The system, it has a problem in it. Now, what I want to be able to do is ensure, and what we was able to hear today from the Frisco Police Department is reassuring that the Frisco Police Department is doing everything that it can to address the racism and the bigotry. We have saw the police chief, a statement being sent out by the police chief that was false. We have saw a false autopsy report that was false. We have to caution the community to say, hey, we cannot trust everything that is online. The disinformation that is going online is hurting this case, and it has to stop. It has to stop, y'all. As we know it right now, Austin Metcalf and Karmelo Anthony did not know each other. They did not know each other. Let's stop it. They were not at a party together. Let's stop the lies regarding this situation. We also know that both Austin Metcalf, the twin brothers, were on the roster that day to be at that track meet. We also know that Karmelo Anthony was on the roster that day to be at that track meet. We know they both arrived, all of them arrived to this facility via the transportation of Frisco ISD. The lies has to stop, y'all. Far as the legal strategy, I'm not talking about that today because that's not my place. I'm not the lawyer. I think you guys have all had a statement in regards that the lawyers have asked for a bond reduction, and they will release that in the way. We are solely here because where racism and bigotry and hate arises, the Next Generation Action Network will be there and will respond to that hate. We will not allow our communities to go under attack. We know that when people see a white and a black man in an unfortunate situation happen, that race always become a factor in that situation. And it's really because people don't want to really have a conversation about racial reconciliation in this country. And the current climate that we live in, where racism and bigotry is at the forefront, we don't really want to have these conversations. And social media has been a stomping ground for people to be able to lunch any disparity that they want to. And so, our heart goes out to all who are involved. The Next Generation Action Network continues to restate that we are here to support this situation based on what we have seen. We want to continue to express Mr. Karmelo Anthony's grounds of where he has displayed self-defense. I think that in the next coming days, as you see the things going out in the courtroom, it will be displayed. But today's meeting was solely about the threats that have been going towards their home and ensuring that there is a fair and impartial investigation going on. And I want the public to know that our organization, along with attorneys, are doing everything they can to make sure that race is not a factor in this case, ensuring and supporting like we've always done. And so I really appreciate the police chief coming to meet with us today to answer all of those questions that we have had. And so at this time, I'll just open it up for questions.
Dominique, what exactly did you ask police to do, and what exactly did they tell you they would do, and is it enough?
Okay, break that down. Just give me that again.
What exactly did you ask Frisco police in your meeting today to do about these allegations of racism leveled against this family? What did you ask police to do about it? What did they say they were going to do about it, and is it enough?
What I've asked them to do is put an additional presence out there with this family around their home. They have ensured that they have had levels of communication, but for the family, it has been hard for them to know and trust everything because of all of the disinformation. And it made it hard for a lot of people to even trust law enforcement in this situation because of what was going on. It was one moment that we thought that the police chief made a statement regarding the case. Then we find out that's a lie, right? The family saw an autopsy report, you know what I mean? Now, at the end of the day, because of my experience and growing up in the funeral home industry, I know that it's impossible to have an autopsy report, you know what I mean, something like that to be released in the matter of 2 days, right? So we was able to dispel that really quick, right? You know what I mean? And we knew that that was never going to be the avenue that the Collin County Medical Examiner would release that information, right? And so it made it very hard. So what we've asked them to do is increase their presence. We've asked them for a direct contact for the family to be able to send them the information that is when they're getting it, you know, that they have a point of contact to be able to do this. You know, their home address has been shared, you know what I mean? The hate, you know, there's a lot of stuff that people are saying in regarding their son that are false, you know what I mean? You would think, based on what is online, you would think that Karmelo Anthony is a person who is like, you know what I mean, a hooligan or somebody that doesn't have a home or structure or foundation or all of these different types of things. There's been a whole bunch of lies, like Karmelo Anthony was put out of his home days before. Just stupidity. They are all false and lies. And so, you know what I mean? It's just some of those things that the family knows and things that were expressed. Like, the family knows they got to the bus to do that because Karmelo Anthony's car was at his school. You know what I mean? So it's these type of lies that is being expressed on social media that's making it hard for a lot of the family to even trust. So that's the reason why we had this meeting, to be able to ask answer any questions.
And just real quick though, but so what did police say that they were actually going to do? Are they going to increase
Yes.
protection for this
Yes.
family?
Yes, they accepted that. They did.
They did.
Uh-huh. And
Dominique, you said in the initial letter to the city that you raised serious questions about their thoroughness and fairness of the investigation, saying that you guys have spoken to coaches and other people that witnessed it and that they didn't follow up with them. Were you able to have that conversation with the assistant chief and resolve that?
I was able to have that question, and we were able to give those individual names up because the Next Generation Action Network do not want to interfere in the investigation. We're not going to release who they are, but we were able to have that conversation today. You know what I mean? That's what prompted them to even be able to come. And also, we not only talked about people who were speaking out like that had information regarding the case, we also reported people in official capacities, like people who are teachers, government officials that have used their own personal social media to placate in the hate and the false narratives that are coming out against Karmelo Anthony. And we were able to report that information to them regarding that.
Do you stand by that though, did they acknowledge that some witnesses have not been contacted by police, or were you
To be exact, Frisco Police Department was able to tell me that they have interviewed over 75 people, and it's ongoing. But they did acknowledge that there are people who have not been interviewed in regards to this case. They are aware of that. That wasn't, like based on the information that we were getting, it was very hard for us to be able to, see what this investigation was going and how it was being together, because we didn't know what to trust. But we had to make sure that we get involved in this situation early so that we can ensure that this investigation is fair and unbiased.
Do you feel better after having this meeting that it will be a thorough and fair investigation?
I think the jury is still out. I think that, they were able to come to me and be very sincere about it. I feel comfortable right now, but we have to see, right? They did answer my questions. And so that's, for now, I can only see what they do from here on out in protecting this family, in making sure that this investigation is going right, and pushing forward.
Do you plan to have a meeting with Anthony's family
Do I?
after this meeting? Do you plan to
Yes,
present this
I will have a discussion with them, with their family attorney too as well.
I assume you're going to be releasing some of these images or proof, or I don't know if the family's house has been targeted.
Yeah.
Are you going to be releasing anything to the media to
I can.
support what you guys are saying?
Yeah, I can release you social media posts that have been pushed out of their home. Yes.
Okay, with the 75 people they say they interviewed, did they say anything about video was
Yes.
recording?
They have collected video.
So it is video of the incident?
Yes, they have collected video.
Okay.
There is video of the actual stabbing?
There is video. There are several different video that they verified.
Did the Anthony family obtain their attorneys through NextGen, or did they obtain them independently?
The initial attorneys were obtained through our advocacy. Yes, correct. Of course, you know that one of the attorneys, Kim T. Cole, is the general counsel of our organization, and I believe they are adding more people to. When we got the case, it's about ensuring that the families have representation. We know that over the weekend, the courts, which is normal protocol, appointed an attorney. That is done by, I want people to know that's done by the courts. That's not done by the family. The gentleman that, and there's nothing he did wrong, the gentleman that presented himself as the attorney, at that time when he made those statements, he were the attorney of record. Until Monday morning, when the new attorneys was able to notify the courts that they were the attorneys of record hired and retained by Mr. Karmelo Anthony. That's when they go. And I know there was a lot of confusion as to who did the family hire and all those different types of things. And so for now, y'all, that's an ongoing process.
So what do we know that has been debunked as far as like the cell phone getting broke? Do we know that? Do we know about?
I didn't ask about pretty much cell phone. What I can tell you is on the surface of being debunked is the fact that they did not know each other. There wasn't no, and I want to say this because there is a particular blogger that's getting a lot of views, and it's very detrimental the audience that they're getting, right? And that's the only reason why I justify in saying this on this press conference, because of the type of information that Austin Metcalf and Karmelo Anthony had a fight the day before or a week before, or at this point there's nobody.
And they both were on the roster to run.
There's nothing at this time that support that they knew each other. Okay, you know what I mean? They are both athletes in the same school district. Of course, they probably know of each other, but they do not know each other, right? And so that's a lie. Like the pictures and I believe there was a picture that went on social media saying that this is Austin Metcalf and Karmelo, and that is a lie. So that's a false narrative. Anything else?
What would you say to people that view these social media posts before they hit share or send it to all their friends and such?
I ask that people, if you're really trying to help, I ask that y'all continue to support this family. I know that the community has overwhelmingly support this family in the tragedy that has happened in this situation. But I ask that people, when they're sharing information, please verify the source of the information that you are sharing. Because if you're trying to help Karmelo, sharing false narratives is not helping. This situation is too delicate to be spreading false information. There are a lot of different things, people taking screenshots, and it's looking, in the day and age that we have with artificial intelligence, someone can take this sheet of paper and recreate it with our letterhead, with anybody's statement, and put it out. And that's very detrimental. So we've asked continuously, if you are posting something on social media, please verify your statement. I just want to say this, if there's no other questions, is there any other questions? No questions?
Dominique, I have two
Yes,
other questions. And these are more clarifying questions. You mentioned that the attorneys that have been retained were through the advocacy of the organization. Can you talk a little bit more about what your relationship has been thus far with the Anthony family? And then the second question, can you speak to kind of your stance on the investigation at this point? I think the letter that was initially sent suggested that the investigation, as you saw it, was insufficient. I'm wondering if you still maintain that. You talked a little bit about that earlier, but just want to make sure I understand what the stance is.
So, like many people know, the Next Generation Action Network was founded in 2014. And after a situation happened like this and our organization gets involved with the case, there is protocol to be able to get them a proper representation, because our organization is an advocacy, a human and civil rights organization. So we cannot give a family legal advice, right? So there are appropriate protocols and people who are brought in to be able to do that. And of course, that's the family's decision to, go with that or whatever. And we just give them the options that they need to be able to make sure that their rights are protected, right? Like I said with her question, the jury is still out in regards to the investigation. And now they did give me a lot of clarity about some of the falsehoods that I didn't know wasn't true until I asked them, because there were so many different letters and so many different stuff that was going out on social media. I needed to hear them say the letter that was supposed to be put out by the police chief was false, right? And so, because I couldn't trust whether that was true because of how much heightened. I do share their concern that this case is like none other. I just feel like we're at that beacon of where we are in social media and artificial intelligence, where people can just do anything and just run rapid. I have saw platforms be used in this case that I never even knew existed, right? And so with that being said, you know, that's pretty much it in regards to the investigation. I hope that I can see some in the coming days. I also told them, you know, hey, if bullying, racism, and bigotry exist in this investigation, it's the responsibility of the police department to address this in their community. And so hopefully in the next coming days, we will see this. I know they have a job to do an investigation, and I don't want to impede in anything or speak in the legal matter for the Anthony family or in the legal matter of anybody in this situation, right? Our sole job today is from an advocacy standpoint in making sure that we give voice to the community. I'll end with this. And
Can I ask one question?
yes.
Why did this young man have a gun? Excuse me, why did this young man have a knife on him to begin with?
I cannot speak to that. I cannot speak to that in regards to that. I can't speak to that because I believe that, first of all, even if I had the answer to that or whatever, I wouldn't say it because that's a part of his defense. And I think there's going to be an appropriate time where they're going to speak to what was going on. What I can do is reiterate that Karmelo Anthony, from the beginning, has continued to display his self-defense claim. And I believe that in America, I always tell this, and I'm just going to speak truth to power in this situation. It is crazy that America tells us to accept the self-defense claim of George Zimmerman, Kyle Rittenhouse, and so many other people. But when the shoe is on the other foot, that claim is absurd. And I just got to call a spade, no matter what my personal views of a case may be. It is quite contradicting for America to come back and say, oh, Kyle Rittenhouse can have it, George Zimmerman can have it, all of these individuals that don't look like the color of my skin can't have it. In the state of Texas, we live in a state where yet you can walk around with a permitless carry, you can walk around with a brass knuckles, you can walk around with a knife, you can walk around with all these things. AK-47 in the state of Texas. And then as soon as you see a black person exercise those rights, we now have a problem. And that's not me spitting hate or race or bigotry. That's the facts. And like I put a statement, what we're not going to do after 400 years of oppression of black people in America is yet justify ourselves every time a situation comes up with one of our children. We want them to have those same rights that everybody else. We want him to have his same day in court as Kyle Rittenhouse. We want him to have his same day in court like anybody else. And he will have that. And he will put up the proper defense. And all of these questions will be answered. But the unfairness in this case is gross. And I think that the people in the community understands that. And that's where some of this pushback is coming from, because there's gross negligence in regards to in huge biases. And that's the reason why the Next Generation Action Network has to get involved with it in the beginning, because we are afforded these rights.
How do you feel like the way the media portrayed at the very beginning when this first came out?
I'll say this. Anybody that is putting stuff out here in this case, and this is the reason why the Next Generation Action Network, until that letter that we sent, stayed silent over the weekend while we investigated this case, because we knew that we had a responsibility to ensure that we put out the facts, truth, and that we knew exactly what we are talking about. And I just say this, the media has a responsibility to ensure when you are putting things out on your platform that you are not feeding into some of the racial divides and some of the biases in regards to this case, right? I can't go into the nuances of it or whatever and stuff like that, but I'll just end with this. In an interview that I know that any prosecutor that got a hold of this case wouldn't have never wanted the brother of Austin Metcalf to do is say what he said on the news. And it is clear, it is clear. In his own words, he stated that Karmelo Anthony said, "Don't put your hands on me." That's it. That's all we hear. Certain things were loosely said. There was loosely said. There were certain things that was loosely said in that interview that I just point people to. I don't want to ignite things or try to, speak for his legal defense or whatever it may be. But he stated, y'all, and the hate that was given regarding this case, the bias, that's what has us here today. He should be afforded the same rights that anybody that displays that self-defense claim. He should have the right to do those things and say those things. And someone getting mad that he say that, and that's what we're saying it. I didn't see you saying that when Cal hit Rittenhouse. And to say that's not the same is absurd. Self-defense was the claim. And all we're doing is asking people to respect this. We know that there is an unfortunate situation. There is a family that has to prepare for a funeral. There is a family. In the next coming days, I hope that the investigation uncovers some of the truth around this case, and that's why we will fully cooperate with making sure that this investigation is done proper, and we ask that people pray for these families and support and do the things that's necessary needed to ensure that we create a real just society. And if anybody got a problem with what I said today, if anybody who continues to say that race is not a factor, if anybody who continues to say all of these insinuating things that I saw on social media, then you might look at yourself in the mirror and say, you're the problem. You're the reason why we cannot get anywhere when it comes to race. And when we saw this case come out, there were so much rush to judgment and so many things that had to be corrected that we end up finding wasn't true. It was a huge tagline that was said that Austin Metcalf died in the hands of his brother. And it was false. And we have to be very careful when we report things. We have to be careful when we report things and put things out, because we live in a day and age where social media runs rapid. And so the next step for the Next Generation Action Network is that we will continue to work with this family to ensure that their rights are protected. We will continue to work with their attorneys to support this self-defense claim. And my thing is this: our decision to stand in solidarity with the Anthony family, if you don't like it, then God bless you. But if we call ourselves a human and civil rights organization, we believe wholeheartedly that Karmelo Anthony reserves the right to be able to be afforded the same treatment that any of his white counterparts are given in America. And if this is not the America that can afford him those same rights, then I believe that what black people in America have been saying for over 400 years is correct. Thank you.